Have you ever lain awake at night, your mind swirling with the pain of betrayal, fearing that infidelity has shattered your world beyond repair, leaving you to wonder if you'll ever rebuild trust, stability, or a sense of self in the aftermath? Let me first acknowledge that these emotions are valid and shared by many. Infidelity strikes at the core of relationships, stirring feelings of hurt, anger, and confusion. But gaining knowledge about the path forward can empower you to navigate this storm with greater confidence. As general educational information, today we'll explore if you can survive after infidelity, focusing on the legal and emotional aspects that often arise in such situations, drawing from broad principles in family law to reduce anxiety and provide clarity. This isn't personalized legal advice, so please consult a qualified attorney or counselor for your unique circumstances. One common misconception fueled by dramatic TV shows is that infidelity inevitably leads to vicious courtroom battles where every detail of the affair is dissected publicly, resulting in one party being villainized and the other vindicated with massive settlements. In legal reality, many jurisdictions operate under no-fault divorce systems, meaning infidelity might not directly impact property division or alimony unless it affects finances, like if assets were spent on the affair, and the focus shifts to equitable resolutions rather than assigning blame, which can actually reduce conflict and promote healing over prolonged litigation. Diving deeper into the legal standards, judges typically evaluate several factors to ensure fair outcomes, and understanding why they matter can illuminate the process. In many places, the primary concern is the best interest of any children involved, looking at parental fitness, emotional bonds, and stability to decide custody arrangements that prioritize the child's well-being over punishing a parent's mistakes. Property division often follows equitable distribution principles, considering contributions to the marriage, earning capacity, and needs, rather than solely fault. Why do these factors matter? They aim to create balanced futures, preventing one spouse from being left destitute while encouraging cooperative co-parenting. To illustrate, consider a hypothetical case study A. Sarah and Tom married for 10 years with 2 young children, where Tom's infidelity leads to divorce. In a no-fault approach, the judge focuses on their shared assets like the family home and savings, dividing them based on who contributed more to the mortgage or childcare, perhaps awarding Sarah primary custody if she's the main caregiver, with Tom providing child support calculated on income to cover education and health needs. This setup matters because it maintains stability for the kids, allowing Sarah to rebuild without financial ruin, and encourages Tom to remain involved, fostering long-term family health over retribution. In contrast, case study B involves Lisa and Mike, where Lisa's affair depletes joint savings on gifts and trips. Here, the judge might factor in this dissipation, adjusting division to reimburse Mike, but still prioritizes alimony based on Lisa's lower earning potential if she sacrificed her career for the family, and custody hinges on who provides a more nurturing environment, perhaps shared if both demonstrate commitment. These hypotheticals show why judges weigh contributions and needs. They promote equity, reducing the risk of poverty post-divorce, and emphasizing children's emotional security, which studies link to better long-term outcomes like academic success and mental health. Now for a pivotal strategy. Thriving after infidelity often hinges on meticulous preparation, thorough documentation, and mastering emotional control. Gather financial records, communication logs, and evidence of parental involvement early to build a clear picture for negotiations or court. In mediation or discussions, approach with calm, focusing on solutions rather than accusations. This not only accelerates resolutions, but models resilience. For example, in case study A, Sarah's documented budgets helped secure fair support, while Tom's composed demeanor in joint sessions preserved co-parenting trust. In conclusion, surviving infidelity is possible through understanding no-fault principles, equitable divisions, and child-centered decisions that foster fair restarts, offering hope that this painful experience can lead to stronger, more intentional lives built on self-awareness and new beginnings. What step are you considering to move forward after a tough relationship challenge?